I know what you're thinking. Is this guy really going to talk about curls for 9 minutes? You're damn right. But the Preacher Pad can do more than that. Probably. But I do think it's only right. I admit I was wrong when I called this thing a $130 chunk of foam in one of my videos. Saying I was skeptical when this first came out would be an understatement. How is some vinyl and padding going to hold up to years of use in heavy weights? And is it really a great solution for a home gym at this price? Of course, somebody's going to argue you could buy an entire preacher bench for this kind of money. And they're right. You could spend your money on dumber things. Like this sick piece I definitely didn't have Winnie pick up from our local Walmart for $135 just for this joke. And I swear I won't be returning it the second we're done filming. Maybe not. Or there's Titan's Preacher Curl Station, but if a company that removes negative comments from its site still has that many bad comments on a listing, I'd be a little bit worried. And it doesn't help with possibly the biggest reason people get this. Space. Titan's Preacher Curl needs 6 square feet of floor space as well as room around it. There's also the Preacher Curl attachment for the Super Bench Pro. But this is assuming you don't already have a $450 plus bench. The real advantage of this thing is its size. At 24 inches long, it's very light, making it really easy to store anywhere. And in a home gym setting, storage is always an issue. The other nice thing about its size is it's realistically the only thing in here I can kick and throw at people without potentially killing them, which I do constantly.
Get off your phone!
I know I'm a bit late to the party on this one, but as a man, it takes me a little time to swallow my pride and admit I was wrong. So I reached out to Adam Hensley, the inventor of this thing, and mentioned I wanted to review it. Simply because I really wanted to try it out, but also I missed the ability of doing true preacher curls rather than the one-arm variation I have to do on my incline bench. And AbMat and Adam were kind enough to send this out to me. Probably because he's so intimidated by the size of our Instagram, though we all know YouTube is the only social media that really counts. Instagram's not really a thing, but feel free to follow us on there as well. I've been beating on this thing for a few months, and I've been trying to test all the things you asked us about it on our Insta, and I had a lot of my friends try this thing out as well. Because one of the questions we were asked a bunch of times was, how does it work for different body types? Well, we tested up to about 6'2", 250 pounds, down to Winnie, who's a cute little angel and perfectly sized, and we all found it to be pretty comfortable, though I could see if you're an absolute mass monster or smaller person, you may have issues with it. Winnie's about 5'5", by the way. Speaking of size, if you have a really wide frame, which I'm not really sure how to quantify that, but if 6'2", 250 pounds sounds small to you, you might want to look elsewhere because although it still works, it starts losing its shape and stability when you're using heavier weights with it or if you go really wide with your elbows. Again, for me, it's never been an issue and I think it'll fit most people's frames, but it is a foam pad we're curling with. That being said, I find the reason this works pretty well is because of the firmness of the foam. It's a pretty good middle ground, stiff and supportive enough so that it's not going to give out on you, but comfortable too because it conforms to your chest and stomach, but it also feels good on your triceps and elbows. You'll have your own preference here, but this should work for most of us. Overall, it's a well-made product. The vinyl cover has a slight grip to it, which keeps the pad in place when using it. And it feels natural to use, as natural as a preacher curl ever feels, because with this cutoff edge here, it kind of fits to your body. Though if you have a power belly or power boobies, Winnie made me use that term, you may have to play around with it a bit to get it in a good spot. The stitching is great, and the high density foam inside bounces right back after use. And with 4 of us working out in here, it's gotten around, so it's proven to be durable. I had someone ask, okay, technically they said, everyone who's reviewed this so far has used it with lightweight dumbbells. And they asked, how does it hold up to heavier weights? Well, that's because everyone who's reviewed it so far is smaller than me. So I brought it up to 115 pounds for reps. I didn't say how many reps, and it definitely deforms as the weight pulls you forward and your elbows dig in, but I still thought it worked fairly well. I suppose you could argue if you're going to be using it for heavier stuff, though I'm not sure how you define a heavy curl, then you'd want the foam to be stiffer, but I think at that point you may need to look for a different solution. Now, it wouldn't be a particularly good home gym item if its cost and space it takes up doesn't match its versatility, though you are really just using it for variations of one exercise. So maybe versatility is a poor word choice and it's not a home gym essential, so it shouldn't be one of the first things you purchase, but if you find yourself driving past your old commercial gym, yearning for the days where the light used to bounce off your huge biceps, well, let's be honest, in a home gym, you will spend your money on worse things. And being made in America, it's probably a little more expensive than you'd think. Which was my initial thought before I got a chance to use it. And after having it a while, I think versus a lot of the equipment I have, it's actually a pretty decent value, but this is coming from a guy who maybe has a little more equipment than he needs. There are a few ways to set it up and use it, and since people asked if it was awkward or difficult, I figured I'd show the ways that I do it. But I will say they can all be a little bit clunky, especially at first before you've done it a few times. Typically, if I'm using a barbell, I'll set the pad on a bench and kneel because it's an easy way to grab the bar and get into position. But you can also put the pad on your lap and bend down and pick up the bar. Or if you have a rackable curl bar, you could set it up within your rack. And if you're thinking, what about not curling in the squat rack? Well, with this thing, I can curl wherever the hell I want. With dumbbells, I normally use the bench sitting position. So I'll put the dumbbells on the bench, pick up the pad and place it on my lap, and then I just pick up my dumbbells. If it sounds like a lot of steps, it really isn't. Once you've used this thing a few times, it'll become second nature. And you won't really think about it. And both sitting and kneeling work. Of course, there are other ways to use it, like the squatting. I'm not really sure what to call it, but don't let your neighbors see you like this. Overall, they all work, and I found it to work well with a lot of curl variations. Close grip, wide, single arm, hammer, reverse, and it even works well with a cable machine. Some of you more creative types can probably come up with other uses, but I've been too busy working on this monstrosity you can see behind me, so make sure you subscribe so you can see what we're up to. If you decide this is something you're interested in, then please check out the link in the description, because I'm going to be honest with you, those affiliate purchases are the only way channels like this survive. It's not a perfect item, but really my biggest issue with it is I didn't think of it myself. Which is why I'll forever hate Adam, unless he's promoting this review, at which point he's a great guy and I couldn't possibly think better of him. I think at $140 or so shipped, it's a pretty good item if you're a bicep lover like myself. That sounds weird. For most of us in a home gym setting, it's gonna work pretty well. It's not a huge investment, though it is a bit expensive. It's easy to store, and overall it performs pretty well. I'm able to isolate my biceps and perform a movement I haven't been able to in years, and I really enjoy using it. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe to help us on that algorithm. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.